Patriots have a pretty good draft. We'll break it down here on PatsCast. Welcome to PatsCast. I'm Brad Whitaker. The 2024 NFL Draft is a wrap, and it feels a little bit like the day after Christmas, right? A little sad. It's been fun speculating for 4 months about who the Patriots might select, but hey, we got a team now, and we got an offense. Patriots selecting all but one offensive player in this draft, which it's nice to see a Patriots team actually draft for needs. Belichick always said, I don't draft for needs. Sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't, but it was a bit refreshing after these last few seasons where Belichick tried to outthink the room a little bit with some of these draft choices. Yes, we coined the phrase, "In Bill we trust." He would take players in the first or second round. We'd be like, who? And then they'd end up working out. We'd be like, all right, we won another Super Bowl, so in Bill we trust. But it just got a little too cute these last few years. And the Cole Strange pick was really the turning point where we're like, this kid out of UT Chattanooga, Sean McVay mocking him, saying like, we thought this guy was like a third or fourth round pick, and Patriots reached for him in the fourth round. Nothing against Cole Strange. When he's on the field, I don't think he's a terrible left guard, but they could have gotten a real first-round talent there, but Belichick, again, got a little too cute these last few years, and I think it ultimately cost him his job. But the collaborative approach really seemed to work. Elliott Wolf working alongside Matt Groh, Gerard Mayo, full scouting team, really having those conversations. Doesn't mean they didn't reach slightly for some of these picks. It doesn't mean I don't have some small, minor issues, but overall, really nice draft. It's great to see them addressing the offense, addressing their holes, double dipping on the offensive line, the receiver position, really making sure they have enough depth. So if some of these guys bust, at least you have some backups there who maybe have boom potential, particularly at the receiver, offensive lineman, and even the quarterback positions. And I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Elliott Wolf is embracing the Green Bay Packers approach. And yes, I know the Packers have won one Super Bowl the last couple of decades, but they've had good teams, and you can't complain about their draft selections over the years. Ron Wolf, we all know what he did building that team. Elliott Wolf was a big part of it. The last few seasons, made some selections in Cleveland as well, or at least was part of those conversations. And I think he did a good job here. And it doesn't mean we don't need to be patient with these guys, but overall, I think we got an offense here that 2 to 3 seasons down the road could be very, very good. And I'm really excited about it. And that starts with Drake May at the quarterback position, 6'4", about 230 pounds, out of North Carolina. Young guy, 21, younger than most of these quarterbacks. Really a prototype NFL quarterback, big-bodied, athleticism. Probably the strongest, or maybe the second strongest arm in the draft. I think they actually drafted the strongest arm later in the 6th round. But Drake May, look, we know he's got a lot of growing to do, right? His footwork is a mess. His accuracy is inconsistent. We know he can throw a great deep ball, but how's he going to be on those outside, short, intermediate, dink and dunk throws, those things that the Patriots have really relied on, and they're going to rely on under this new West Coast Alex Van Pelt offense. We know they're going to run the ball a lot, right? And Jacoby Brissett probably will be the early starter, but we'll see if Drake May really makes a run for it in training camp. I think if he's the better quarterback in training camp, I would expect the Patriots to start him. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I wouldn't bet on it. But overall, comes from a family of high-level athletes. One of his older brothers, all his older brothers, 3 of them are taller than him, which is truly remarkable. One of them, if you remember, hit an amazing shot in March Madness a few years ago. Go watch that highlight if you haven't taken a look. But has the capability of being a Josh Allen, Justin Herbert type hybrid quarterback. And if that's what you get out of it, look, we're not getting Tom Brady again. Tom Brady is not walking through that door. But after what we dealt with Mac Jones and the lack of athleticism, the lack of arm strength, the lack of mental toughness when he took a few hits, Drake May has all of those things. He could not be more of a polar opposite to Mac Jones. Now, I wish we had some of the Mac Jones traits in terms of accuracy, being able to understand the offense quickly. Mac Jones, you hear Patriots players say this, he was probably the quickest rookie to ever pick up that complex Patriots Josh McDaniels offense. I'm not sure. I know Drake May's probably going to be running a more simplified offense, but he may have a bit more of a learning curve there. But overall, has the highest ceiling of all these quarterbacks. Really excited to see what the Patriots do with him. And if it works out, we got our quarterback of the future, a guy who has Bledsoe-like arm strength, Josh Allen-like athleticism, can throw off balance, and is also going to be able to run really effective QB runs, QB draws, QB sneaks, do lots of different things that we really couldn't do with Mac Jones, and not even with Tom Brady, even though Brady was one of the best at running the quarterback sneaks. You're actually going to be able to run the ball a little bit with Drake May, and I think he'll protect himself a little bit as well, unlike Jaden Daniels, who's probably going to get his neck ripped off his first few weeks in the NFL. He'll start right away, but really excited about Drake May. I ultimately, I've talked myself. I was kind of high on JJ McCarthy because I think he was more pro ready, but at the end of the day, the Patriots are rebuilding. You want the guy with upside, so very excited about Drake May. Then we had in the second round Jalen Polk out of University of Washington. Patriots traded back just a few picks and got an additional fourth round pick, which ended up working out pretty well to get a guy like Jalen Polk, who supposedly, again, every team says this. Elliott Wolf said it. They were eyeing at 34, had some intel that if they trade back just a few picks, he would still be available. Now, that doesn't mean the Patriots weren't eyeing Xavier Legette or the kid out of FSU whose name is slipping my mind right now, or, some of these other receivers that went just before the Patriots made their selection, and we also found out that the Bills would not trade with the Patriots. They were willing to trade with the Chiefs, a team that's been knocking them out of the playoffs every year, but they weren't willing to trade with the Patriots, who I guess were looking to move up and get a guy like Legette. But ultimately, they had their eyes on Jalen Polk when they realized he was the best wide receiver available to them at 34 and thought they could get him a few picks later. They traded back and ultimately were able to double dip at wide receiver because of it. So I think Elliott Wolf perhaps deserves the most kudos for that move. And Jalen Polk, 6'1", a little over 200 pounds, plays a lot bigger than that. Gritty wide receiver, some of the best hands I've ever seen coming out of the draft. Really good route runner. Not a burner. None of these guys they drafted are burners. Hopefully Tyquan Thornton can become the burner we want him to be, although I wouldn't be optimistic about it. But he's very similar to Jacoby Myers with, I think, a little bit more athleticism, a little better hands, a guy that's not going to have many drops, going to be a good complement to Drake May because, again, May kind of has some inconsistent accuracy issues, and because he has such a good catch radius, well, that means he's going to be able to bail May out on when he overthrows, underthrows. He's going to be able to leap or go back to the ball and make sure it's not intercepted at the very least and be able to pull in some of those passes. And I think Jalen Polk's going to be that guy. Okay yards after catch guy, not the greatest, but can do more than enough there. Now, the one pick that I hesitate a little bit on is Caden Wallace. He's a little bit older, 24 years old, 6'4", 322 pounds out of Penn State. If we're judging him just as a position player on the offensive line, what he's done 4 years at Penn State at right tackle, it's about as good as you can get for an offensive lineman, honestly. But I'll let you know my issues in just a moment. But really good balanced pass protector, good hand strength, long arms. Was considered a bit of a reach at the draft, but a lot of tackles were coming off the board at that point. Has an ability to play guard if the Patriots aren't comfortable with moving him to left tackle right away. I think Owenu's still going to be at the right tackle position, but he could probably play right guard, maybe to a lesser extent. Doesn't mean he can't do it, but can play left guard as well. But really can play any position on the offensive line, so adds a lot of versatility there. And if you're talking about him at least at the guard position, I think he can start right away. And the Patriots think he can play left tackle. And that's the reason why Elliott Wolf ultimately made this decision. Doesn't mean he's going to start right away on the far left side. A core 4 is kind of a bridge piece, but ultimately he's, I think, a real depth piece if you can get Caden Wallace out there early on. But I would have liked to see the Patriots go after the Cortez guy from Washington. Even though he was a right tackle, was a blindside tackle, so maybe you feel a little more comfortable with him on the left side because Michael Penix was a lefty. Liked Kingsley Suamataia. I think I'm pronouncing it right this time, but correct me if I'm wrong. And the Patriots had some draft capital to trade up, so that really is my only complaint about this. They probably could have gotten one of those guys who they would have felt a little bit more comfortable starting at left tackle right away. But look, Caden Wallace allowed almost no QB hits, much less sacks throughout his college career. He has some issues with speedy pass rushers, I guess. They can make inside moves on him, and he needs to be a little bit quicker at that. But that's the only weakness this guy has. So he's athletic enough, and I think because of that, the Patriots think they can develop him as a left tackle. I wouldn't be stunned if he's starting out there week 1 and then you have Okorafor as a backup. I think in all likelihood he's starting at a guard position, especially if they don't feel City So is starting caliber guard, or if Cole Strange is not ready, if he's not fully healthy yet. I think Caden Wallace can be that guy, but he's ultimately probably going to be the future left tackle. It just may take some time for the Patriots to develop him to that point. And the reason why I really think he's going to start at left tackle is because they drafted Layden Robinson next, early in the 4th round, 6'4", weighs a little bit less than Caden Wallace coming out of Texas A&M, but still a big guy, strong physical guard, notable play strength, really well. It really does a good job in the running game. Adds some more depth to the guard. I'm not sure he's going to start right away, but it's very possible, especially if they're not comfortable with City So, like I said, or Cole Strange isn't healthy. Needs a little improvement in pass protection. He's more of a road grading blocker, more of a run blocker, but it's a bit of a shift. And we know that Elliott Wolf, Gerard Mayo, Matt Groh probably are not comfortable with some of the selections Bill Belichick made at guard over the last few seasons, so I think that's why they picked the Layden Robinson choice out of Texas A&M. I think he's less likely to start, but if he is ready, and you have Caden Wallace on the far left side and Robinson is at guard, hey, look, maybe they have a really good offensive line, and at the very least, they got a ton of depth now at the O-line, so those players are going to compete in training camp, and the best ones will start ultimately, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I think the Patriots now have the protection for Jacoby Brissett or Drake May, but I'm even more excited about the next pick, which the Patriots acquired because they were willing to trade back just slightly in the 2nd round. Javon Baker, 6'1", almost 210 pounds, out of University of Central Florida. It's Javon Baker, not Javon Baker. Got that wrong yesterday, but really physical receiver, has a knack for high-pointing catches, winning contested balls, 50-50 balls. Really good complementary skill set to Polk, but he's more of an outside X, big-bodied, physical type receiver. Not that Polk isn't physical, because he is, but he's really more of that outside threat where Polk's a guy that you can move around to the inside and the outside. Javon Baker really has the potential to be a real star, a real number 1 wide receiver, a guy the Patriots have been missing since Randy Moss. Offers a wider catch radius similar to Polk that's also going to help Drake May if he's having accuracy issues, if he's being inconsistent with those throws. Javon Baker could be the star, could be the steal of the draft. I'm shocked he slipped to the 4th round. Like I said yesterday, if the Patriots had taken him in the 2nd round and not Jalen Polk, I would have said it's a bit of a reach, but I'm very happy with that selection. They got him in the 4th, and they got Polk, and they got 2 offensive linemen before they even got Javon Baker. And that's huge. And that's why I think Elliott Wolf deserves a really solid grade for this draft. Javon Baker could be a star. Now, I'm not saying he's not a character guy. Patriots really prioritized character guys. You see what Javon Baker said on social media after the draft. You know, gonna be a bit of a personality, right? I guess he works miracles. He's a healer, so he can do things outside of playing football that really are supernatural and no human being can do. Check out what he said after the draft if you want to know what I'm referring to. So we get to the later rounds here. Marcellus Dial, 6 foot, 190 pounds. He's a defensive back out of University of South Carolina, the only defensive player taken by the Patriots. Very athletic, very sticky if you're playing him at the corner position. But I think perhaps even more importantly, we know the Patriots needed to address either corner or safety. He can play both positions. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up being a safety in the NFL. He was listed as a safety on ESPN after the draft selection, but very fast, has incredible ball hawking instincts, kind of a Jack Jones type corner, except I think he's a lot stickier than Jack Jones. He's not going to take tremendous risks that end up costing him touchdowns. Doesn't mean he's not going to take risks, but he's a lot stickier than Jones and has that similar ability to ultimately get interceptions and potentially pick sixes. So excited about that. Going to be a bit of a developmental prospect in the secondary. Not saying he'll start right away, but a lot of versatility, whether you want to start him at corner or at free safety. He can do both, and he's probably close to NFL ready. So Only defensive player taken, but they address the position of need there, whether it is corner or safety, so glad to see that. And then the Patriots double-dipped at the quarterback position, getting Joe Milton III out of the University of Tennessee. Biggest quarterback in the draft, has about an inch on Drake May, about 5 to 10 pounds on Drake May, and has by far the strongest arm in the draft. Yeah, we know Drake May has incredible arm strength. This guy has even more arm strength. He can run a little bit too, pretty athletic. But that's pretty much all he has, right? Accuracy issues, decision-making issues. Definitely going to be a project quarterback, but it's a late-round gamble, a lot of raw talent, a lot of physical tools. But ultimately, if the Patriots are opting for these quarterbacks with tremendous arm strength, with athleticism, he can develop into a really solid backup, I believe, behind Drake May, and you don't really have to change the game plan. Let's say Drake May goes down and you're game planning the next week. You can keep the same game plan as you had with Drake May because he is a similar type of quarterback, has similar issues with accuracy and inconsistencies to an even greater extent, but big guy. And I'm shocked he slipped this late into the draft. A lot of people thought he was like a 4th or 5th round pick just because of the arm talent, because of the size. And watch some of the throws he made at the NFL scouting combine. Really incredible. And then the last selection was Jaheim Bell, 6'2", 241 pounds, tight end out of Florida State. Another guy who probably slipped a bit later than most expected. I heard he might be a 4th or 5th round draft pick. They got him in the 7th round. Explosive pass-catching weapon with versatility. Really moves like a running back, so he's going to get a lot of yards after the catch. I believe he might have played running back beforehand, but he just has so much size that they were able to convert him to a tight end. Lots of value in terms of schemes, seam runs. Bit limited as a blocker, so don't expect him to be a blocking tight end. But he does ultimately fit well into the Patriots' offensive scheme and misdirection passes, which we know the Patriots are going to run a lot of bootlegs, a lot of play action. He's going to be very valuable there and provide a lot of yards after the catch. Pretty good for a 7th round pick. Probably a practice squad guy, though, at least in year one, because they have Hunter Henry, they have Austin Hooper, they signed another tight end whose name is slipping from me right now, but a good guy to have on the practice squad, a good guy to game plan with, and then ultimately he should be able to replace Austin Hooper heading into next season, or the 2025 NFL season. So really happy with these picks. All but one were defensive players. Like I said, nice to see the Patriots making selections that make you think, all right, we're addressing our needs. These are guys that you don't think they're reaching 3 rounds ahead of time, even if some of them were slight reaches. I'm going to give Elliott Wolf, Matt Groh, Gerard Mayo, the entire Patriots front office, a B-plus grade for this draft. And the only reason I'm not giving them an A is because of this gamble of converting Caden Wallace into a starting left tackle. But, you know, I think if they think he's athletic enough, if they think he can play left tackle the same way he played right tackle at Penn State, he's not going to allow a lot of sacks, a lot of QB hits. And he's got some room to grow, but he's a guy who could start right away at the guard position and maybe even start at left tackle if he can develop quickly. Excited about that. I just think the Patriots could have gone after Kingsley. They had enough draft capital and could have moved up a few picks, and Elliott Wolf was more keen on trading back than he was in trading up. But ultimately, because he traded back, they got 2 4th-round draft picks, added a guard, and then they added Javon Baker, a guy who I said, again, would have been great in the 2nd or 3rd round. I think he can develop into a real star. So that's the only reason I'm not giving them an A, giving them a B+, but it could be considered an A draft if Caden Wallace works out, if Javon Baker turns into a true number 1, and if Jalen Polk is a contributor right away. And now we got Drake May, we got Jacoby Brissett, we got Joe Milton, we got Bailey Zappi, we got Nathan Rourke, we got a big QB room now. I'm not sure all those guys are going to, one of those guys is probably going to be cut, right? It might be Zappi, it might be Rourke. We'll see how it plays out. But let me know in the comments below what you think of the Patriots draft. What grade do you give it? Do you give it an A? Do you give it a B? Do you give it a C? Do you have issues with it? Curious to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, or subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll be back this week with more Patriots coverage. They got quite a few undrafted free agents too that can be key contributors, perhaps even right away. So we'll certainly break that down a little bit this week as well. You're going to want to tune in.